What is up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the LA Soccer Hub Show, the final episode of this season, at least for me, man. MLS Cup Championship passed this Saturday. I'm exhausted. My voice is almost gone. It was insane. This game will go down as the greatest game in MLS Cup history. I know a lot of people, just talking with a lot of people, is just, I mean, from what happened, the emotion, the up and down, this game literally had everything. And, you had it went to PKs. You had the comebacks from both teams. And then you had an unfortunate injury to Maxime Crépeau. And then an unsung hero, and John McCarthy comes up big, wins MLS Cup MVP trophy, PKs and everything. It was insane. I was there. Justin was there. Justin's joining me to talk about this. Justin, how are you feeling, my man? After a long week. I mean, we did a whole thing of MLS coverage. I know you were there for all the other stuff, the shenanigans, but let's talk about this insane week leading up to the MLS Cup.
Yeah, I mean, I'm exhausted, honestly, from that week. But it was all amazing and so much fun. All the events prior to the game, all the hype around the game, the interviews, the trainings, everything was great hype for the game. They had great promo videos and all these things on MLS social media that got you excited for the game. So I think it was perfect because it was, one of the most hyped MLS Cup finals in a while, obviously for good reason, with, the two number one seeds meeting for the first time since 2003. So it was just a huge MLS Cup final, and it exceeded, I think, everybody's expectations.
Yeah, it definitely did. For me, it was crazy. Just everything leading up to it. Because both of these two teams were number one teams. I felt like it was going to be tight. That's what ended up happening. With both of these two teams, we saw both how elite they were, and both finished what was it, 67 points. LAFC got the
Mhm.
tiebreaker because they got more wins. So it was just so close, just back and forth. Let's talk about to me it's just like that being there at the MLS Cup final, even though it was an afternoon game. We got there around like what, 8, 9. I think I got there around like 9ish for the pregame
Same.
festivities. Let's talk about that because there was an issue with because USC was having their fan fest as well, so that was a big issue why LAFC fans, MLS Cup Final fans, let's put it that way, could not park there. But that did not, I don't think that did not stop, at least in the LAFC side, how they marched from the park. I forgot the name of the park. We were there. They marched from the park to the Bank of California Stadium. That was an insane experience. Let's talk about that because first MLS Cup for LAFC, and then in that march and everything going to the stadium.
Yeah, absolutely. It's an unfortunate situation with the USC game. Obviously, their homecoming game, a really big game for them, and they rent out that, Expo Park, that Christmas Tree Lane area for their games long in advance. And so, you know, uh, LAFC and the league both knew that this could be a problem should LAFC get to the MLS Cup final. Um, they didn't want to necessarily deal with it until it became a bigger issue, and then they dealt with it. But as you say, the fans dealt with it in the best way possible. There was free parking at Dodger Stadium. They met up at, I think it was Jesse Brewer Jr. Park, not very far at all away from the stadium. And then they had this amazing march that you're seeing now from that park all the way to the Bank of California Stadium, which, is not a long walk, but it was loud and packed. And just a very impressive march from the 3252 there.
Yeah, this march was just insane. We got a chance to just obviously experience it. They walked in like around like 9:30 a.m. People were there since 8 in the morning. People were hyped. They were just drinking, excited the whole time. It was insane. It was insane. I mean, like from that start, because I didn't want to get there early because of the previous night. There was a bunch of other MLS festivities, and I got there, and man, there was so many black and gold fans, so excited and just ready to go. ready to go, and it was a party from the start that we got there, and kind of got to see that and experience that. And it was, to me, cover this is my first MLS Cup final, being able to cover that. I've been I've been covered a few MLS All Star events, the Leagues Cup, but this, I mean, I don't think no one was prepared for what we were about to see. The buildup was insane. The buildup was awesome. Once we got to the stadium, because once we got in around like 10 a.m. or something, 10:30 into the stadium. We still had like what, like an hour and a half, 2 hour, I don't know, with 2 hour, an hour and a half or so till the kickoff time. My math, I don't know if my math is off there, but
3 hours,
yeah,
yeah, because yeah, we got there
or
at 10.
3 hours.
The
Yeah, if we
kickoff
got
was
in at 10,
1.
yeah,
Yeah.
3 hours. See, long week, but yeah, 3 hours till kickoff time. So I was like, what am I gonna do? Let me get some food. Let me chill. But yeah, let's talk about that. The build up to that, because from everything that we saw, from the 32-52, from the excitement, just being able to see the stadium, right, and seeing that. Let's talk about the stadium, as the stadium started to get filled up, and also the pregame facilities inside the stadium. What you liked and you enjoyed, the celebrities. Justin Bieber was there. If anybody cares, MLS was posting about him and his wife, I believe his wife, girlfriend.
Yeah.
There's so many celebrities. Magic Johnson, who's a minority owner, was there. So many celebrities. What'd you think of the whole atmosphere leading up to the start of the game?
Yeah, I mean, it's good to see the celebrities because that just means the status of MLS is growing, right? Because that's what you would see at any big sporting event in Los Angeles. All the big celebrities come out and watch it, regardless of what it is, whether they care or not. They're going to come out because that's what it is to be a celebrity in Los Angeles. So it's great to see that that's starting to happen at MLS Cup and LAFC. But the fan base is, to me, the more important side because LAFC 32-52 were out there, you know, hour and a half, 2 hours packed out before the game. Philadelphia Union fans came out as well. They packed out their section, 2.5 sections full of Union fans in the away end themselves. So I thought it was a really good atmosphere the entire time. The whole stadium was into the game. And yeah, I mean, I don't think that you could have asked for anything better. Obviously, we know that the league decided that they wanted to put the penalties in front of the north end for just so that they could have it, on TV and have that atmosphere there because they didn't want to have it on the other end and out on all of that because of how incredible that atmosphere is at the Bank of California Stadium.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the penalty things that you talked about. Yeah, it was kind of like a no brainer that they were going to take, at least for me, that they were going to take penalties on that end, especially you mentioned for the TV
Yeah, well,
viewership and everything.
it's a huge advantage for
Yeah,
LAFC to me. Like
it
if I'm a
really
Union
is.
fan, I'm angry about that because it's not fair. It should be a coin toss like it normally is. They did a coin toss to decide, the order, and LAFC won it. They chose to go first. So maybe LAFC would have won the toss anyway and picked in front of the
Mhm.
32-52 because obviously they want that. But if I'm a Union fan, I'm not happy with that.
Yeah, look, I mean, they had an opportunity to win, and I would agree to your point, but as the league's trying to grow and show that atmosphere, to me, it was just like a no brainer that was gonna be over
Yeah,
there.
yeah, of course, of course.
But you mentioned another thing. Union fans, they came out heavy, heavy.
Hmm.
Even though there was a gap, they had like a gap in between their fan base. I don't know what they had, like about like three, I want to say three sections of the supporter, because usually sometimes they get one section, but they filled up like
Yeah.
two, and then it was like two and a half for whatever reason. But look, regardless, they showed out. They really showed out. They were loud. They made themselves be heard, especially when it was like the 2-2, or call the three, that was it, the 2-1, the 2-2 comeback. You could hear the momentum, and then
Mhm.
when they went up 3-2, essentially, So shout out to the Union fans. They came out hot and heavy, made it known. But unfortunately, obviously, it did not go their way. Let's talk about this game, because man, was it a game. Like I said at the start of this podcast, this will go down, if it hasn't already. This will go down. We already know this is the greatest final in MLS history. Um, to me, this is the greatest MLS game I've ever been to in my life. and
Mhm.
I've been to quite a few Old Trafford's, but a final just supersedes all that and just the emotion, everything that had. Let's talk about the game. First half, I think it ended up 1-1. Keanu Acosta gets the goal. Union tie. I think Union tie in the second half. See, my memory's all messed up. But let's talk about the first half of this game.
Yeah. Well, yeah, as you mentioned, Kellen Costa gets that lucky deflection, gets the goal. But yeah, I think the first half was better from the Union, excuse me, than it was from LAFC. Honestly, they were controlling most of the possession. They were getting into better areas. And LAFC were just having difficulty trying on the counter attack. They were playing a lot of long balls that weren't getting connected. They're getting a little sloppy at times. But obviously, then in the second half, that changed. So it was a long game, right? So the first half was just the beginning of the story there, ending 1-1. But then it gets, more goals. There's what, 2 goals in first half, 2 goals in the second half, and 2 goals in extra time. So action throughout the entire game.
Yeah, a lot of action, and then like as we're seeing, Kellen Acosta's goal. I love that they had the what they did with the camera, with the sky cam or whatever it's called, so you can kind of get
Yeah.
every single the aerial shot. Um, yeah, and we were towards on that side watching that, and I think the thing that was pretty impressive about this play and Kellen scoring in this, I think everybody got fooled in this play, including potential. Well, I think everybody expected Carlos Vela to take this shot,
Yeah.
and
Well,
then
he faked it,
he
right?
faked it, and then Count
Yeah.
Acosta, and then just a deflection from the defender gets past Andre
Yeah.
Blake, obviously the number one goalkeeper in MLS. He did not have. I wouldn't say he had a bad game. He actually had a really really good game. It was just unfortunate. Certain things just unfortunately did not go his way. But yeah,
Yeah.
like the confidence of Carlos Vela to let him take this kick, and the trust to let him take this because LAFC have a couple players that could take free kicks. Kellen, Carlos Vela, and at times we've seen Chicho take his free kicks. So let's talk about that and the depth that this team has when it comes to set pieces. Because this game was just nothing but set piece goals for the most part.
No, it definitely was. I do have to correct myself because the Gazdag equalized in the second half when he got that ball from the shot in for Martinez. But yeah, set pieces. It's so interesting to me because if my memory serves me right, I think that's 4 set piece goals in their 3 playoff games, which is, I mean, really surprising to me because in the second half of the year, LAC were not a threat on set pieces at all. It was the first half of the year with Mamadou Fall, right? Air Senegal was putting them into the back of the net. But then once he went on loan to Villarreal B, since then, there hasn't been much threat at all. Whether it be a direct set piece, a corner, whatever it be, LAC weren't posing a threat. And then all of a sudden in the playoffs, it keeps happening. But I think that just may be a playoff trend because Union did it as well, and those are the types of moments that make differences in these types of games because you just have to find the goals wherever you can, and set pieces are often where you get the best chances because the defenses are so good at this time in the playoffs.
Yeah, and then just set pieces for both teams were so crucial on what they did. Obviously, I think one of the things that I seen Carlos Vela had to address. Andre Blake was literally coming out for every ball when it came to the corner
Mm,
kicks, and it made it so difficult for LAFC to essentially kind of capitalize anything around that was in and around the center or around the box or even past the six. Andre Blake was going out there and getting it because I think he did it he did his homework correctly. He realized, look, if I let LAFC, get to this ball, or you never know. So what I saw from a lot from Andre Blake, anytime they had a corner kick, he was going out and getting it. He was going out and getting it up until I believe it was a Jesus Murillo got his goal. That to me was insane because what I saw was an adjustment from Carlos Vela. Carlos Vela adjusted on the set piece, as you'll see right here. He does the corner kick court to the first post. He goes right there. That's one area where Andre Blake can't come out and get the ball because a lot of it was getting close. It was getting close enough for him. You see how it was just right there near post.
yeah.
Andre Blake is not coming out for that because there's no he would just be out of position, right? And I think that's what I saw the adjustment from Carlos Vela uh, gets it right in there for Jesus Murillo. And to me, when this goal went in, I was like, I think they might have done it. I think LAFC might have done it. They might have sealed the deal. What are your thoughts? Let's talk about this play. This goal, Jesus Murillo comes in clutch.
Yeah, no, that's a great point you bring up. Carlos Vela's adjustment there, fantastic header from Murillo, and yeah, I mean MLS. I don't know. There's always drama in MLS, isn't there? So at this point, I was just thinking that LAC might have gotten it, but there's still so much time left. There's going to be a lot of stoppage time, um, and so there was, I think there was 7 minutes of stoppage time if I'm not mistaken. So there
Mm-hmm.
was still 10 or 15 minutes left in this game, which is a lot. And, Jack Elliott took advantage. But um, when it was 3-2 LAFC, or sorry, 3-2 Philadelphia, that's when I thought it was over. When Elliott put that in, because LAFC were down to 10 men at that point, obviously after the Maxime Crépeau red card. And I was just like, wow, this game has to be over at this point. And then, of course, Gareth Bale rescued it. But yeah, fantastic header here from Murillo, and I think we saw an equally great header from
Yeah, here's a
Elliott
here's a
in
great
this.
hitter. Yeah, he's
Yeah,
right there in the 84th minute, which was just insane. Just insane. That was his
yeah,
Elliott's first goal, and he gets it right there. And that to me, I mean, it could have probably been. I mean, Elliott, he's what? He's just like 6'6". How tall is he? He's really tall.
yeah,
Um,
6-6, I think. Yeah,
and he gets it right there. He just gets it past Maxime Crépeau, and I was like, oh dang! Once Philly tied it, it just like the whole it sucked out the whole energy out of the stadium from the LAFC side, because it obviously goes out and celebrates on the Philadelphia Union side, which they were on that side. um and it was just insane to me, just the momentum shift that went back and forth, because it was such a great duel. It was such a great
hmm
duel. Let's talk about that, because the back and forth between these two clubs, because it was just insane. It was just
no,
insane how back and forth this was.
you're absolutely right, and I think in the back end of that season, the season we saw that fight from LAFC, we started to see they were not gonna give up in the end of games. They were gonna find a way to win, and that's what championship teams have to do. And credit to Philadelphia as well, because that was coming into the game. What I thought would be the biggest issue for LAFC is that Philadelphia simply do not lose games. They just don't.
Mhm.
They draw a lot of games, which is why LAFC got the tiebreak, because they won more games, but Philadelphia still had the same number of points with fewer wins because they got so many draws. They do not lose. And so that is why it's so hard to beat them, I think, and why they get so far in every competition. But obviously, they weren't beaten really. They found a way to get the late goal. Yeah, you just saw from Elliott, and then they went all the way to penalties, and it took penalties to beat them. But it's such a hard team to beat. But LAFC, same way, and wouldn't go down, and they've got it through in penalties thanks to John McCarthy, of course.
Yeah, no, the penalties. Before we get into the penalties,
Mhm.
we got to talk about Gareth Bell.
Yeah.
Um, this play, I think the credit goes to Cheeky Palacios, just beating his defender, and then Gareth Bell. Oh my goodness! When I saw that, I was like, "There's no way this is happening." It was just so surreal, just to witness it, and I was on that side as well, watching that, and I was like, I was just, it was just insane, because I felt once Jack Elliott had scored in OT, or I mean an extra time. Once, like you mentioned, Maxime Crépeau was out, John McCarthy came in. I was like, it's crazy. I was like, dang, it just kind of felt like LAFC wasn't going to be able to overcome it and do it. And then Gareth Bell comes in clutch with this goal. All his LAFC sins have been forgiven, because obviously this led to the penalties, and obviously now. But let's talk about this moment, this Gareth Bell moment, because he's had a lot of big moments in his career, in big games, in Champions League games, and Copa del Rey versus Real Madrid versus Barcelona. And now he can add this to his resume, and then MLS Cup Final comes up big, comes up huge. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, absolutely. He said, I'm used to scoring these goals in finals, but he just keeps doing it. He keeps finding a way. And this way was dunking on 6'6" Jack Elliott, who had already scored 2 goals in the game. It's really unbelievable. And the ball from Cheeky Palacios, as you said, fantastic. I was talking to somebody, uh, another media member. I'm not going to name them, but they were saying Cheeky Palacios has terrible touches. This guy's terrible, and then he does this. So I think he's one of the best left backs in the league. He didn't give up here, and Gareth Bale to get up that high just shows his class. It's something that not everybody's going to notice, but he's jumping over a 6'6" defender there who's great in the air in Jack Elliott, and he just rises above him to win the header in the biggest moment of LAFC's season. And that is exactly what they brought Gareth Bale to LA for, because he can provide that moment, right? Even if he hasn't been very impactful this entire season, he come up in the biggest moment and, send it to penalties for them.
Yeah, like I said, everything. Gareth Bale was brought in for this to help him win a championship. He was a monument up until this MLS Cup playoffs. He had not done. He had not played. Right, he had not
Mm,
played. This essentially was his first MLS Cup playoff game. Came in overtime, and like I mentioned, all his LAFC sins have been forgiven from this season. Just one goal, can change a lot of things. The one big goal can change a lot of things. Well, obviously, what led to the PKs. Let's talk about that. The unfortunate event now of Maxime Crépeau. He comes out. He injured his leg. We know now he's had surgery. He had successful surgery. It looks like he's going to be out for quite some time. He's definitely going to miss the World Cup. He put his body on the line for the black and gold. In comes John McCarthy. Let's talk about that, because there was just so many things, because we have not known anything about John McCarthy. We've seen him a couple games, but Maxime Crépeau has been the number one. What went through your mind heading into penalties with John McCarthy? Because we hadn't seen anything. We didn't know what to
mm.
expect.
Yeah, well, with John McCarthy, when he came in, it was when he came in it was 2-2, and then so I thought, hopefully we can take it to penalties, because if it goes to um if it if there's a problem with John McCarthy, like he's not as good of a goalkeeper as Crépeau, is what I'm trying to say. So you got to just defend, and with 10 men now, you're not going to get much on the attack. So you just want it to go to penalties with 10 men in extra time in any situation. So luckily, he made an incredible save, but then it unfortunately fell to Jack Elliott, right? And he tapped it in to get his brace and put Philadelphia up 3-2. And at that point, as you mentioned, I thought it was over. I thought it was done for. But once Bale scored, I actually thought that it was a fair fight going into penalties, because Andre Blake is obviously the best goalkeeper in MLS, but John McCarthy, the one thing I really do know about him is that he's a penalty specialist. That's what he's known for, and that he's been brought in many times in his career to do that. And I was thinking that maybe he would be brought in specifically for that, regardless of the Maxime Crépeau injury. Steve Cherundolo said maybe he would have, maybe he wouldn't have. He still didn't know after the game, because he didn't actually have to make the decision, unfortunately. So Max Crépeau, you have to give him everything. He made the biggest play of the game and gave up his body and his World Cup for that trophy for LAFC. So he should be a legend in LA for that forever. But John McCarthy, yeah, for him to come in, and he is a penalty specialist, but for him to stop 2 penalties and force another one over the bar, not let one touch the back of the net in penalty shootout, is really, really rare for a goalkeeper. So there's not too much that can be said about either goalkeeper.
Well, the one thing too is I didn't know that about him, but
Mm.
he also had mentioned it. I think in his presser, he had mentioned that was talking, I think, to one of the coaches. He's like, "Hey, should I get ready?" This was prior
Yeah,
to
as
Maxine.
goalkeeper coach.
He was talking to the goalkeeper coach, and this was in extra time. And yeah, he was talking to the coach. He's like, "Hey, should I get ready for like PK?" So John was already prepping to potentially come in for PKs. And then all of a sudden, then the coach was, I think the coach, he said something along the lines, I'm paraphrasing here. He says, like, "We'll let you know, right? We'll let you know." And then all of a sudden, Maxime Crépeau injury happens, and there's his answer, and it was just insane to me because everything all once Maxime went down and John came in, um, there was just so many different things. I was like, man, this game is so crazy. And then Bell ties it. Once Bell tied it, and I literally I knew the penalties were going to be in the 32-52. Once they announced it, I was like, okay, I got to go watch it from that side. Um, Once they announced it, I was like, I feel like LAFC have a really, really strong possibility to get these PKs and potentially win these PKs because it was on their side. As we see right there, first Christian Teo takes the first PK, he misses, and Philadelphia Union slips, and I was like, wow, just watching this, and then I think we'll see right here, Bouanga puts it back past Andre Blake. This is Martinez, I believe, from the
Yep.
Union, gets blocked by John McCarthy. It was just rocking at this point. Hollingshead comes up, puts it right down the line, gets it in there. And then right here, John McCarthy again, once again, PK saves it. And John McCarthy said that he was even though Ilya Sanchez was coming to come up and puts it away here. We'll see right here and wins it for them. We'll see where John McCarthy is. He was coming back to come save the PK or coming back to save it because he was surprised. He didn't know. He said he didn't know that he didn't have that he was expecting to go back and save PKs. And I was surprised because also I was a little surprised that that's when it ended, but I wasn't. There was just so much going on. I forgot to look at the scoreboard, and then once I see Ilya Sanchez won, I was like, "Oh, they won it! They won it!" What were your thoughts through that whole PK experience?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, Teo, I was surprised he went up. That was my initial reaction when he walked up to take the first penalty. I was shocked because the first penalty is a very important penalty to take. Um, and but John McCarthy said that after that he had been burying them in training the entire week. So maybe it was the right decision, but I was very surprised by that. I guess you wanted every player to have their impact because we had already seen Boanga won the Shield, Bale sent them to here, Chicho had won the game against Galaxy. Everybody was having their moment, and this was Teo's maybe, but he didn't complete it. And then Gazdag slipping was you felt like okay, the momentum shifting back, and then of
Yeah.
course Boanga right here, the first penalty to score is always a big one, goes in there. Martinez, yeah, and the two saves, and John McCarthy's reaction after the second save was just shows you his passion. He was absolutely locked in. That's why he didn't know even what the score was. He was just locked in. But yeah, it was key for LAFC to go first. Ilya Sanchez said that Chiellini came up to him before the shootout, right, and begged him
Yeah.
to choose first
To go
because
first.
because that is statistically the correct decision, right? Ilya said he always likes to go second. Me personally, I've always liked to go second too, but you got to choose first because statistically that is the correct decision, and it worked out for LAFC in this case.
Yeah, and another thing, because we talked to Ilya after the parade yesterday. He said that.
Mm,
Well, I think you had asked him like, oh, how's it feel to win the game for your team in PKs? Because everybody, as a kid, everybody wants to win it for the team.
yeah,
And he says he's like, I never wanted to do that. Like he's like, that was it. He just said that I never dreamed of that.
yeah.
Because it was just funny because it's a lot of pressure. It is, and one thing I wanted to ask Ilya too. Um, I'm assuming Gareth Bale was the fifth taker, right? He had he had
That's what I'm wondering too. Yeah, I'm
it,
surprised. We
it
should have
had to
asked
been
him. I forgot to. Yeah,
it had to been Gareth Bale, assuming so. That I mean, he's definitely gonna have if he missed it. But yeah, it was great to see also Ilya, like you said, have this moment as well, as along with John McCarthy, and then kind of just enjoy it and soak in the moment because it was just so incredible, man. It was just so incredible to see what happened with this team, what they've done all season, all year long. Truly, like I could not believe everything that happened this weekend. I can't really believe I was there to like experience it, enjoy it. It was just insane. It was just insane because even the next day, I remember just waking up and I'm like, did that game really happen? Like, was it that crazy? Like, and as we see, obviously LAFC right there celebrating. at the Bank of California Stadium. I think to me that was just it was just insane. It was like such a long season. But the boys, they ended up winning it and celebrating there. Once you saw them lifting up the cup, Carlos Vela lifting up the cup, what went through your mind?
Yeah, it's been such a long journey, for the past 5 years, and for Carlos Vela himself to be the one lifting that trophy. I think his speech at the celebration yesterday said all that needed to be said. Right? He said, "Sorry it took so long, but here's your trophy." Right? I finally did what he came here to do. He accomplished what he's been trying to do for the past 5 years for this club and for this city. And so for him to be able to lift that trophy in front of 3252 at that stadium in the most, incredible fashion that we've ever seen, it's was an incredible moment. And as you said, it just, I was just grateful to be in attendance.
Yeah, let's talk about that because the celebrations are not in there. We had to come back for the parade and anything. It was insane. This whole weekend, the way LAFC did it, they won it. It was just impressive. Definitely a staple. But yeah, I do want to play Carlos Vela's speech. It was in Spanish.
Mm.
We'll play it in Spanish and see.
El primer día que llegué aquí a Los Ángeles y estuve aquí, les prometí que íbamos a hacer algo grande, que íbamos a ser campeones. Me tardé 5 años, perdón por tanto, pero aquí está el pinche trofeo. ¡Somos campeones! El primer día que llegué.
So, for those obviously that don't know Spanish here, I was able to I tweet this out. He said, "I promise you guys we were going to be champions. It took me 5 years. Sorry it took so long. Here's the effing trophy. We are now champions." I mean, it was just so much emotion with Carlos Vela. Once he came up, you could sense it, and everybody that obviously that spoke and that was part of the parade and the festivities and stuff. Because like, look, I've been covering this team since the 2018 season. I've been covering this team since the start. Seeing where they went and how they've grown and how they've attached themselves with the culture of LA and everything that done to me, it's been so impressive to see how they've grown, and now they finally got their MLS Cup. Let's talk about that, Justin, and everything that you witnessed this weekend, but especially the festivities yesterday.
Yeah, the festivities yesterday were great. We can, I talked about, whether there should have been a parade or whatever. They did do a little parade around the Christmas tree lane. I think that it was just incredible, though. I said that before the celebration, and it was an incredible celebration. I think, the perfect people making great speeches. Latif Blessing got to speak. We got to hear from, Max Crépeau and his wife. We gave a speech for him from the hospital. I think that's, was a great touch. There was just so many moments throughout it that I think it was perfectly summed up the season. Steve Cherundolo brought up his two assistant coaches. Of course, that he always, tries to push off the praise and deflect it towards them and say, emphasize how much of a team effort it is. So he doesn't even make a big speech, but it's just the perfect moment to celebrate, and you celebrate it right where all the fans tailgate every single game. I think that means something as well.
Yeah, they did it right in their own backyard, which was impressive and awesome to see. From everybody that spoke, the front office, from Steve, everything, and they brought up a lot of things too that there were concerns about Steve and everything. You did not know, and obviously nobody knew. But I mean, they had the confidence to bring Steve in, and they've known Steve obviously better than anybody. And what he did with this club, and obviously Vela, Bell, Chiellini, and everything that we've seen, it's been a very impressive. And you gotta tip your hat off to them in the front office because of what they've done. And to me, it's just like, because when Steve first got hired, I was like, I want to do a wait and see approach. I know a lot of people like were jumping the gun and this, and look, if you're a fan, go ahead. For me, I was like, all right, let's see what he does with the good roster, with the solid roster, right? Because look, anytime you have a development team or like a USL Las Vegas Lights, it's tough. But sometimes your job is easier when you have better players. That's just the truth, And he showed it right away that, okay, when they were winning and just doing different things. And I think once I first got to like speak with him and see his demeanor and everything like that, it was just, I was like, okay, I could see this definitely working. No, I'm not going to say I predicted them winning an MLS Cup. I'm not going to say that. I was like, I could see this working. Let's see what happens come playoff time, because I expected them to make the playoffs and everything. But once we saw this team finish first, the momentum and how they were gelling and everything like that, you started to see bits and pieces of a potential championship team. You just did. I just started seeing the foundation, the growth. And obviously, once they made the splash signings of Chiellini and Bell, regardless of how much they played in the season, that they were the number one team, right, with the target on the back. And they had the highest expectation. And Steve Chernow handled that pressure well. John Thornton did an amazing job building out this roster, not paying a player over $3 million. There was no egos involved. You know, they had to do it this season. They knew they had to do it. They showed out for the fans. They won in the most historic fashion, most insane way that no one could have predicted. It was like Carlos Ellis said, it was a Hollywood ending. It was literally a Hollywood ending. And someone needs to make a Netflix, a Hulu, Amazon, whatever documentary about John McCarthy. They just got to. Of his storyline is so impressive. Someone has to do it. Someone, because it's just a heroic ending, just came out of nowhere. And that's why we fall in love with the sport. That's why we fall in love with soccer, football, whatever you want to call it, right? That's the beauty of this sport, of stories like that come out of nowhere, and now everybody knows who John McCarthy is, and it's exciting. Just everything that came out of this.
John McCarthy biopic coming soon. I support it.
Yeah, I'm putting that out there. We got to get it out there. Justin, final words. Let's put a bow on this season. LAFC won the championship. Give us some final words before we sign off.
Yeah, man. At the beginning of the season, I think, in the off season, the questions were all about John Thornton, and there was a lot of calls for JT out. Some people backed him. Some people said he can't do it anymore. We need a new general manager as you're getting a new coach. He made a lot of big decisions, a lot of big moves in the offseason. He made some more in midseason, as you mentioned. And then excuse me, then it was Steve Cherundolo who got hired, and the questions became, is he the guy? He has no experience. How is he going to get it done? Well, here we are at the end of the season. They won the Supporters' Shield. They won the MLS Cup. They're in the CONCACAF Champions League next season. Everything that you could have wanted as an LAFC fan, they brought to Los Angeles. So all you got to do is tip your hat to those two guys and everybody else that was involved. Obviously the players, but everybody in the backroom staff, all the coaches, everybody worked really hard and accomplished the goal that all 28 teams are trying to get to, but there was only one that did it, and this year was LAFC.
Yeah, no, they did it. You hit the nail on the head. Congrats to LAFC. Congrats to the front office. Congrats to everybody involved, the players, everybody. Look, it was an amazing experience. Like for myself, I know you had a great time, Justin. Just to experience this whole season. It was a long season. I was like, man, I can't wait till this game is over. This last game, because it was just a lot. But man, it lived up to the moment. The hype that lived up to the moment. I'm excited. Carlos Vela got his trophy. He got one for LAFC, and just overall, it was an awesome experience. But also, Justin, I want to thank you, for always being available to hopping on the podcast and stuff. And everybody, all the fans, all the listeners, I appreciate you guys tuning in. It been a long season. It's finally come down to the end. So I appreciate you guys for the support. If you comment, like, shared any of the podcasts or anything like that, retweeted any of the content, I appreciate you guys. And that is it for Justin. This is Gio. We're signing out from the 2022 season. We'll catch you next year, baby.